Hello Internet, it's Chris here, and I'm very proud to bring you the next episode. I have Peter Williams. Now, Peter Williams is actually better known amongst his own people as Papa Whiskey, which is his initials, I suppose, and it was also his call sign. So you often find people talk about Papa Whiskey more than that they talk about Peter Williams. And once you've met the man, you will know why. Now, you've briefly met him before. He was speaking with Gavin Mayberg and our own Andrew Whittaker on Ops Skeptic and the role that 32 Battalion played before the attack on the Smoke Shell base. This one is special though, because he arrived there and he carried a huge rucksack, a huge bergen. And that thing's heavy, I can tell you, it's heavy. And he plunged it down on a table in front of us and he said, guys, this is our Escape Evasion kit, which we used at 32 Battalion's Recce Wing. And let's see what's inside it. And that's exactly what this video is about. It is an eye-opener. But it was also one of the first ones we recorded in Durban, and it was very warm that day. We tried fans, we tried aircon, but the aircon wasn't where we were recording. And we kept the doors open, so there was a lot of noise coming in from the background, from the ocean, which was thundering down. We did our best with the sound, and I'm sure there will be people here complaining like always. And like always, I said to you, my friend, if you wish to complain about the sound, then buy us the right equipment. I think we can start with about 100,000 rands. We will make fantastic videos just for you. But unless you're willing to do that, you run a very real risk of me banning you if you complain about sound. Because, guys, we're really doing the best we can on no budget whatsoever. In fact, we're doing this out of our own pockets. You're not paying to see this. There's no annoying ads. There might be in the future, because we've reached a stage where there's absolutely no choice anymore. I don't think we can carry on like this. But anyway, the sound is adequate. It's good enough. You can hear it. I've asked several people, more than 20 in fact, to look at the video before you. None of them were complaining about the sound, but I do understand there's a bit of a problem with that, but we did our best. And it stays a fantastic video. So let us see what these guys did. It is fascinating. Hello Internet. I can tell you we're here in Durban. You can see we're wearing our new clothes. We even got caps. This might even go commercial, we don't know. We'll think about it. I want to welcome Peter Williams here. He's from 32 Battalion. Peter, very welcome.
Thank you very much, guys.
And can you just briefly tell us about your career, just in a minute or two?
Chris, my name is Peter Williams, and I went to infantry school for a year, and after that I went to 32 Battalion. I was a few years in the companies, in Delta Company, and thereafter I joined the reconnaissance wing, and today we're going to be talking about the escape and evasion bag that was used in the reconnaissance wing of 32 Battalion. Okay, so this is the escape and evasion bag, and the reason you have an escape and evasion bag is because when you get engaged with the enemy and things go wrong, and the enemy might be going over your position and possibly killing your members and so on, you need an escape and evasion bag where you've got a big bergen, and within that bergen you keep the escape and evasion bag. And this one is a very important escape and evasion bag because it's got the radio in it. And the radio is of vital importance if you have to make communication and possibly get assistance of strike aircraft or attack aircraft, or it's a method of communicating with the other team members and getting a distress signal out there so that you can get assistance. So we're briefly going to discuss the escape and evasion bag. I'm going to go through what is in it and why we have each thing in it. And you'll see it's quite a heavy bag, and this one is heavy because it is the radio bag as such. The escape and evasion bag is a totally personalized thing, and you decide for yourself what you want in your escape and evasion bag. So let's quickly have a look what is in this particular escape and evasion bag. So the first thing on the very top of the escape and evasion bag, we have a panga. Okay, and it's a typical British type panga used in the Second World War. It is quite sharp, and it's in a leather pouch so that it doesn't cut anything. And the reason you need this is because if you do escape and evade, you have to be able to cut a landing zone for the helicopter, so the helicopter can come and uplift you or lift you or your friends and so on. So this is just the actual panga that we used at the time. We put it aside. And then in the very top, the first thing you'll see is these green tackies, a pair of green tackies. And they had a specific name, and these were called Follow Me Not. And Follow Me Not is specifically for that reason, because you'll see it's got a very, very flat sole. And when you walk in any surface, soft surface like sand or anything, you'll see the edges around it as well. So when you walk with these tackies on the soil, it doesn't leave an imprint on the ground, and then obviously the enemy can't follow you. And if you're doing an escape and evasion, the last thing you want to do is have the enemy keep up with you and keep contact. And escape and evasion basically means you need to get away there, and you don't go very far. You go 4 or 5 kilometers to an RV, a rendezvous point, where all of you will meet. So the whole idea there is that you will all split up in different directions, and you'll meet at this feature or point that is predetermined as you go along. So these are the escape and evasion tackies, and they were made by a company called Barter in Port Elizabeth. And you'll see the inside of them has got a blue lining like that, and they're very, very comfortable. And they've got 2 holes on the side, on the inside, so that if you're in water or anything, that the water can drain out of them. So those are the Follow Me Not tackies. Then, some interesting things in here. We see a shirt, a green shirt, and it's an enemy shirt, okay? And the reason you want that is if you are escaping and evading, you want to look like the enemy. So if the enemy does see you, they will assume that you're one of them, and then they won't shoot you immediately. And you'll have that small time of a minute or two to determine are you friend or foe, and then they will think. This is also just another kind of shirt. Depending on what kind of shirts they're wearing in that area, you'd be taking out the appropriate shirt and then wearing that so that you look like the enemy. And this is a pair of pants, and these are called rice pattern. I think they are East German rice pattern, and you can see the pattern there is stripes that run vertically down like that. And you can see in those days I was a lot thinner than what I am today. And then of course it's always nice to have a beret, and this one is a Fapla beret with a Fapla badge on. And it's just an ordinary green beret. It had a yellow, black, and red tassel at the back, and then you put this on, obviously. I don't think it will fit me, because I've got a bit large-headed. But if you wore this, it breaks the shape of your face and everything, and immediately they can see you wearing a beret, so they assume that you're a Fapla officer. But as you can see, I'm a Caucasian white person, quite light-skinned and so on, and the enemy were all black people, and so that we had to wear black as beautiful, which is a type of cream you put on your face. But even if you're walking in the bush, then you can easily be distinguished. So you have yourself a wig. This one hasn't been worn for a while. So let me just see which way around it goes. Like that, like that, like that. So that's your wig. But obviously it needs a little bit of a brush and a fix-up and so on, because this one's been lying here for a long time. Now this particular bag is a bag that you would take into southern Angola, and if you work in a specific area, you would cache this bag. In other words, you would hide it somewhere. And then if you have to escape and evade, and you leave everything else behind, you know that you can actually run to this point and you can get this bag. So if it was a question of trying to escape out of an area and you had to leave your bag behind, you could leave your bag behind because you would have a bag like this. And this bag was cached for over 30 years in southern Angola, and then I picked it up a couple of years ago. Okay, so that was my wig. And obviously if you're running, you use up a lot of energy, and you obviously want to stay on the go. So we did use Reactivane tablets. That just uses up all your energy easier, but this is the secret to staying on the road, and it's called Breakthrough Corn Syrup. It's an American product, and it's got a lot of electrolytes and a lot of sugar in it. That's corn syrup, obviously, and you take 3 of these with 2 reactive ends, and you'll almost be like Asterix and Obelix after the magic potion, and then you can go and go and go and you can do your thing. Unfortunately, this only makes you go for about 60 to 90 minutes, and then you stop going and then you're quite flat. So you have to make good of your escape so that you do get away. Then when the aircraft do come towards you, you need a thing called a day glow panel so that the enemy know who your foe is and who you are. So we have this thing, and you'll see that obviously this side is camouflage so that if you don't open it, you don't see it. And you'll see it's a bright orange panel that you can put down, or you can tie it on the back of your rucksack if you're running away and you know the enemy is coming. And this was good for Impala aircraft and Mirages and Alouettes and everyone, just so that they know the enemy. Because remember, you must understand at this stage, you're running away, you've got the wig on, you've got the enemy uniform on, you look like the enemy, you've got an AK-47 which is the same as the enemy. So this doesn't distinguish you in any way from the enemy, and this would be your lifesaver, because this would be the only thing that would distinguish you from the foe, and that you are foe and not enemy. Then I just want to pick the rucksack up. Then the most important thing that very few people know, even the reconnaissance guys don't know this little trick. And this trick I started in the bush myself, because my mother suffered from measles when she was very, very young, and she had her eardrums removed. Then she had the first plastic eardrum put in South Africa, but she never had her 100% hearing. So she used to have a lot of hearing aids. And when I went to the bush, I used to take some of these hearing aids. It's just a normal little hearing aid like that. And then obviously this little dispenser here is for the battery, okay? And then you just put a new battery in, and then you could hear. And then you obviously put this thing in your ear, and oops. See, I'm not as agile as I used to be in my younger days. So you put this thing behind your ear, sorry. Okay, and then this thing goes in your ear. And then you can switch it off at the back, or you can switch it on. It doesn't really matter. Let me just get it in the right place. There we are. So there it is. It sits behind your ear. And you can switch it off, switch it on. You can fine tune it as well. And obviously the little earbud goes inside your ear. And then instead of you stopping and opening your mouth and turning your head so that you can hear sounds from a given direction, you just put this thing up, and then you can hear so much better. And in 32 Battalion, we used to always have competitions. You know, we'd know the helicopters will be coming today to uplift us, and then we'd say the guy that chooses the right direction the helicopter's coming from gets a case of beers, and the other guys contribute. And I used to win cases and cases of beers, because no one knew I had a hearing aid in my ear, and I could always say on a long distance that the helicopter's definitely coming from there, but I would always have a ruse and say, did you guys hear something that way or not? And they'd all be listening there and so on. So it wasn't only handy for the enemy itself, which it is very handy for. And funny enough, I've never heard of any special forces anywhere in the world that have used this particular technique. So don't tell them, and we keep it our secret. I'll just put it away. I'm just going through the bag as stuff comes out. Okay, now we get on to... This is an ordinary sheep counter that you count sheep with, okay? And you can see it's camouflage because we actually put it on our belt. And then if you want to know distances exactly, every time you take a step, you obviously just click, click, click. And depending on the weight you carry, you know what your distance in step is. Because if you are heavily laden, you'll be doing about 700 millimeters on a step. And if you were lighter, you could go up to 900 millimeters a step. But you would know if you were running how long your step was, and every time you stepped, you just clicked. And you think it's complicated to do, but you do it so often that it actually becomes muscle memory. And you don't even know that you've got this thing in your hand. And every time you step, you just happen to just press the button. So it's just a question of clicking. And then when you're ready, you read. And you know your exact distance, and you can determine your navigational points. And then this little button on the side here is just to zero it. So now we're going to show you the radio. Obviously the radio, normally you would dig a hole and put it in the ground in case you were mortared or shot at or whatever. But when you're obviously in a hurry in escape and evasion, you just put it sideways like this. You take the aerial out, which is this little thing here, and you'll see everything in the South African Defence Force is homemade, and you make it good for yourself. And so this is the piece that fits in the radio. I'll show you now. And then you unwind this thing, and this thing has got markers here. For 5 megahertz, you've got a shorter aerial, and then as you go along, you have different lengths. And then there's a little sinker in here as well that goes to the end, and you just wind it up into the tree, and when it comes down the other side, you obviously pull it until you get it in the right direction. Obviously, if you put your aerial up this way, the signal will be going in the opposite direction, so at least you have, you are in the right direction itself. Then you can connect it with a VNC connector, or you can connect it with the ordinary connector. So we put that aside. This is called a whip antenna, and it's got the same VNC connector here. And this little thing is called a gooseneck. And the gooseneck is if you want the aerial to go up. Obviously, if you put it out straight, it's not going to go up. So the gooseneck, you just bend it like this. It's just got a spring in. You put it in, and then obviously it'll go in that direction. So that's the gooseneck, and obviously just fits inside there. Like that. It's now in. And then this one is just, it's got a little steel cable inside, and you basically just pull it together, and it'll go piece by piece will go up, and it's quite a long area. And this is just to make communication quickly and to be able to speak to your base and make communication. Just put that aside. Then this is a little 35mm canister, but the most important thing in your equipment that you could possibly have. It's a little BNC connector like that. It's just on a little string like this. But you'll see that it's got 2 little diodes on it, special diodes. So you put this thing in the connector here, and this radio is called a Syncal 30. It's a British radio. I'm just going to pick it up so you can see. So that's the Syncal 30. Got a little penknife here. So the radio looks like that. Well, let me turn it around so you can read the right way around. Okay. As you can see over there, that says Syncal 30, and it's the type of the radio is manufactured by Syncal itself. So over here is the off button, and then you have low and you have high. And as soon as you start tuning the radio in, when you start tuning the radio in, it makes a noise because it's sending a signal along the antenna, and it's trying to determine which is the best. Now in here, you've got a long spring in here, and you turn it to get it to the optimum wavelength. When you've got the optimum wavelength, there's 2 little red lights here, and it will tell you turn this way, turn back a bit, and then you know you're at the optimum radio length to send the message. The problem with this thing is it's sending a signal out that the enemy can pick up as well. And if the enemy can pick it up, they're doing DF on you, which is direction finding. So what they do is they have 3 points from which they're doing direction finding, and if they can link you to a specific spot, they can tell their comrades exactly where you are, and from there they can obviously come look for you. So we put this little diode in here, that one there, and then that prevents the signal from being sent out, because the diode is preventing the signal from being sent, but at the same time you can tune your radio. So the diode is a lifesaver, and you have to have this diode with you. And then this is just a small little knife that the South Africans gave out, and it's just a 2-blade little knife that you can use for small little jobs, but we find it very handy just to leave it in the bottom of the radio. So that's the radio, and obviously if you are in a compromised position, you have to use a headset, and the headset just makes it easier for you to be able to talk. And then you've got a pressel switch that you put onto your kit, and you just press when you want to talk. And then this obviously allows you to talk very softly, and no one can hear you there. But you can also use a handset, And obviously the handset we just cover with some camouflage, so if anyone sees anything they can't identify. And that obviously goes in there and you can just talk. Obviously if you're running away, you can put this handset in, and while you're running you can quickly just send a message or whatever. Then obviously this radio is quite heavy and it needs power, okay, and they all rely on power, and you either have to recharge the batteries in a base where you've got a recharger as such, or we used to make battery packs up with homemade batteries, and we would keep that aside, and when things went bad we would stick it in here, and then we'd have a little bit of 30 minutes talk time and so on. But obviously if you're going to be there for a while, you need this little instrument, and this is a solar panel, which in those days was unheard of. But it's just a small solar panel, and by the way, this battery works on a 24 volt battery, so it's not like a usual kind of battery. So this is just panels that are put together like that, and you obviously put it out in the sun, and you take your BNC connector and you put it in, and then you can discharge your battery while you're lying there hiding and that kind of thing. And it's obviously got some legs on the side here, if I can get them out. And these legs you just stick into the ground, okay? And then you can set your panel at whatever angle the sun is at, and then you lay your panel down there. Okay, so that is the solar panel for the radio. And obviously all these things unfortunately do weigh more and more and more, and then you get too heavy, and then you have to decide what you want to keep and what you don't want to keep. So I think let's have a look and see if we can take the radio out. The radio is quite heavy, but as I said, it's vital to keep your team and yourself alive and so on. So it is an essential piece of equipment. But it just fits in here, so it often doesn't want to come out, but I'm sure we'll make a plan to get it out. A bit of a struggle. There we go. Okay. So there's the radio on its own. See, some of our cells are going. It's fine. Believe it or not, there is your proverbial 9mm bullet. Quite old. Now, why do you think we'll have a 9mm bullet there? Because we weren't as sophisticated as the other special forces, and we didn't have sunlight bullets and things like that. So if you decided to call it a day and you want to do the coup de grace, you have one round there to do the coup de grace move. It's quite a heavy radio. It's not waterproof, so obviously you have to have some canvas or something to be able to waterproof. Let me just put it down like that. Okay, let's look what else we've got in here. It's been a while since I opened it, so just turn it around. Okay, let's see. These are obviously all personalized things that you would want in your own escape and evasion bag. Now here we have a very interesting little map pouch. A small little map pouch. Let's see what's in the side. Here we have a very interesting item, and all this is an AK-47 cleaning kit, because you might end up in a river, or you might be rolling in the sand or the dust or whatever, and you have to have your weapon clean, otherwise it's not going to be functional. So that's always a handy thing to have in your escape and evasion bag. Okay, that was in the map pouch. So now we open the map pouch. There's a side pouch on the other side. I don't think there's anything in there. And we open the map pouch. Okay. And what would you find in a map pouch? But a map. And the map has to have mapperfolio on so that it's waterproof. And obviously it has to be camouflaged so that if you take it out, it doesn't reflect, and that people think it's just something green lying next to your backpack. And on the back of it, obviously, you have the index and all the symbols that you need for the map. And on this side, you have your map, and you mark your map. Here we've marked a kraals, or where people stay. This is a road. I'm not sure which map this is. This is a place about 160 kilometers inside Angola, and this is the little town of Mupa, and the road comes down from Livali up to Mupa, and then it goes up to Kasinga. So that's the map. Some spare batteries for the hearing aid, a waterproof compass that you would put on your arm, and it's a luminous, so that when you are running away, you can quickly just look at your general direction, and you can quickly set your compass, and then those two lines must line up with the compass, and then you know what direction you're going. Obviously very handy if you don't want to get lost and you're in a hurry to get away from the enemy. And then if you're going to be working with explosives or something like that, these are the very best hearing aids that are ear protectors that you can get, because they will let ordinary sound in, but as soon as the sound gets too high, they will automatically block the sound. Obviously made in the US of A. Aha, here we have something very interesting. This says here, secret 32 Battalion Reconnaissance Wing, slide code number 10, issued to Papa Whiskey, and it says secret, okay? So in here, you have every possible name that you could possibly want to send in a message, okay? And let me just read a few here so you can see. It says cloud, code, command, company, compass, and so it's obviously alphabetical. But over here, if you look very carefully now, you will see that you've got columns, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns, okay? And then over here, you've got lines, and you'll see on this page, you've got 22 lines, and it's obviously got a page number. On the page number, the top is page 2. So if you had to take a word here, like Ivali, which is the town south of that map, Ivali is there, okay? It'll be for page 2, okay? It'll be column 5, and it would be word 7. Then you would go to the back of your code, over here, and you would have a look here, and it'd say the page number. But each day, you will have a different code. So yeah, you will have 10 possible codes, and you will know on this particular day, we're going to be using code 9. So if you go to page 5, the letter F will be used. The column number will be the same here, and you've got 3 letters here, and you can choose one of those 3 letters. And then this one here is obviously your line number, and depending on what code you're using, if you're using 9, you would go all the way down, and it would be S. So with those 3 letters, you would be denouncing the word Ivali, and then you would send that particular code through. And this code was never ever broken by anyone, because it changes so often, and we're the only people that have the actual code list, so no one actually knew what we were talking about. The other thing is that all our messages were sent in Morse code. Only if we were in contact with the enemy, then we would speak on voice, because they knew we were there already, and then we could communicate in voice. We had very, very good tactical headquarters guys, and their job is to listen to your Morse, and just by listening to the kind of tapping you give, they would know that that is Papa Whiskey or wherever it was. So that's how good these guys were. And then you didn't ever have to say anything, because they would ask you questions. And there's a certain rules of the questions. And he would say, are you okay? And you'd say, da. And then as you go along, he would give each. Obviously, if you're compromised, you would give Quebec, da. And then obviously he would know there's an emergency. You would get the choppers on standby. You would get a strike aircraft in the air. There's a whole procedure he follows. And then if he knows after 2 hours, you might be in further danger, and then he will escalate the situation further and further. So that is all the stuff in the map pouch. Obviously a map. That aside, finish with that one. Over here, I don't know what's in here. Okay, we have the very most important rope, which is called a toggle rope. And basically it's a length of rope like this, and it's got a little lug on the side, and then the lug fits in here, and then you can actually lock it in, and then you would have a round rope like this. And if you twisted it like this and you put it on someone's back, you can easily grab it and you can drag the guy through the bush. We normally have two, I don't know, there is another one, yes. And you could use that to drag two people or whatever you need to do. So that was in mine. Let's have a look. And then I just used an ordinary dive tech, a scuba diving knife, because it can't be affected by rust or anything like that. And it's just a very small knife, and it's got a ripping ability, and you can rip things or whatever you wanted to cut with, you can cut easily. It's almost like a box cutter, okay? And obviously when you escape and evade, you put that on the inside of your boot so that you can get to it if you need it. That's just a strap for your compass. And then here we have the most important thing, or everything is important, okay? But this is a detonator crimper, okay? And when you attach a detonator to a piece of safety fuse, then you have to crimp it on, and you put it in there and you just give it a little gentle squeeze, and then you know it's safe. And you also know it's fairly waterproof, and even if it rains, it will go off. This is an unusual piece of equipment, and you'll wonder what this particular thing is. So what we used to do is, we used to leave weapons hidden in certain places. If you have to run away, and you have to get rid of all your equipment and your weapon and everything else. So this is the butt of a Dragunov rifle. We used to have Dragunovs placed all over the place without butts, so that if the enemy found them, that they can't use them. And then all we had to carry was the butt. And when you get there, you just put the butt in, screw it in, and you've got a functional weapon. So that was a Dragunov butt. And then obviously the most important thing in Africa is obviously water. And this was the standard 32 Battalion 2-liter bottle, and it was very, very tough, and you could throw it on the ground, stand on it, all sorts of things. So we put that aside. And that's all that was in my escape and evasion book. So I think, oh, there's one more thing over here. And this is just a little red infrared light. And we used to use night vision equipment. And with night vision, if you had an infrared light, you can see it a long way off. So if you had to split up and 4 people were in a small area, the one guy could see the guy just by the red light. When you're marching at night and it's extremely dark, you can also see how far you are away from the guy in front of you. And you never want it to be too close. You want to be a tactical distance away from it. And I think that is about all I've got for the escape and evasion bag. And then this side, obviously, it has its own straps that you can obviously put on because it's quite heavy and you need to run with it. And then this side, you can see it's just painted and it's waterproofed, and the water can't get into it. So I think that concludes the escape and evasion bag.
Okay, thank you. I think that was most actually fascinating. It's just fantastic to hear. Thank you, Peter. But I need to ask you, was this now standard procedure of the entire 32 Battalion, or is this specific to the Recce Wing?
Well, it was only specific to the Recce Wing because in the companies you had 32 or 36 people in a platoon, and you were quite strong, and you weren't all 36 going to run away. You'd always make a stand, and if necessary you'd call another platoon in, or you would bring in the gunships to assist you to negate the enemy force. The reconnaissance wing, you're working in much smaller groups and so on, and the chances of you reconnoitering an enemy base, and there's 300-400 people and there's only 4 of you, the chances of being picked up, obviously you are at a disadvantage, and that is why you had a specific escape and evasion to assist you to be able to extract yourself from that area and then make communication with the radio and get someone to help you with either a gunship or do an airstrike so that they can extricate you out of that situation.
Did it happen many times?
Only 3 times in my career.
Okay, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Well, Internet, now you know, I have to say to you, if you're not impressed with what you win, I'm impressed. And I can tell you, if you pick up a story, this guy was quite heavy. It's really heavy. Thank you so much, Peter. We appreciate you.
That's okay.
And to the rest of you out there, God bless you all. We'll speak to you soon again.